If you follow my channel, you know that I get obsessed with certain things and obtaining certain things, and this is one of the things I've been obsessed with for a while that I finally was able to obtain. It is a publication that was from SPI, and the copyright is, they can't see it here, but it's 1981. It is called a special publication including 3 games designed to introduce you to adventure gaming, plus a game buyer's guide, hints on play, history of gaming, and it tells you it contains a science fiction game, which is The Creatures That Ate New York, which is a kind of mini game of the creature that ate Sheboygan. It has a military history game, Napoleon at Waterloo, and it's got some fantasy role-playing. It says The Tower of Azan, A Magical Quest, and this is like a choose-your-own-adventure type thing. I don't know, and it says up here, you are the adventurer. It was, I guess it was a promo thing. I don't actually know whether it was a free or there was a charge for it. I haven't been able to see any price on it. It is a publication that advertises SPI offerings and of course contains those SPI offerings, which we'll take a look at in a minute. What interests me about it, we open it up here, we can see an adventure gaming library, and there are 30 recommended military history, fantasy, and science fiction and role-playing adventure games, and they are delineated here with some descriptions of them. There is an note to the reader, and it says, since the best way to find out about adventure gaming is to actually play games, this booklet has been specifically designed around 3 games, each of which is typical of its branch of the adventure gaming hobby. So I like the fact that they include sci-fi, historical simulation, and role-playing as the entire, or their notion of the complete adventure gaming hobby together in one book. Certainly these days those are very separate endeavors, I believe, for people. And we continue here with the listing of the games. We have the sci-fi and fantasy games here. Here is The Creature That Ate Sheboygan. That's a great Stikian game that I have treated on my channel. Citadel of Blood, one of my all-time favorites, along with Death Maze. I've also done a video on that. Dragon Slayer, War of the Ring, and then we get into the game. This is the game The Creatures That Ate New York, and here is the map of it, and famously the map contains the SPI offices here. This is not to scale, as you can see down here. We've got 17th Street, then 20th, 23rd, 26th, all in the symmetrical grid where it wouldn't be. I can tell you, without telling you, that this is an area of the city I know quite well because my office building is pictured here on this map, and I've worked in this area of the city, and I'm a native New Yorker, so I know this whole area quite well. Some of these things, like B. Altman's, are no longer here. Gimbel's no longer here. Macy's, of course, still is. Lord & Taylor, I just read, I think, is giving up this flagship store, which is a shame. And of course the New York Public Library, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous building, very beautifully restored fairly recently. So this is, and there again, SPI offices, or at least where they used to be. Then we have the Napoleon at Waterloo game here, and the rules, you know, like a typical magazine game, some detailed examples of attacks, and obviously all the rules, the map for that game here. And then there's a teeny little Redmond Simonson article here about solitaire play and what you can get out of it and what it offers you, and a little suggestion even of how to create a basic AI for the other side. And the suggestion here, one simple technique is to roll the die for one or both sides each turn to decide whether you'll perform a high risk or a low risk move out of some moves that you have perhaps predetermined or plotted out in advance. So that's an interesting piece. And then we're concluding with the Napoleon at Waterloo. That's a Jim Dunnigan design. Then we get into the what they're calling a role-playing game, although they say here, unlike many role-playing games, this does not require the use of a game master. It's basically a choose-your-own adventure, or a sort of paragraph-based type of game. There's some actually beautiful line art here of the tower. I may decide to play this and video it. I'm not sure how that would go, and obviously it would be full of spoilers because it is a paragraph game system, so I'm going to look into that. I'm not really familiar with it. These are the counters that come. There's 100 pieces of gaming counters, 60 of them with the Napoleon game, and the remainder at the bottom there with the Creatures That Ate New York game. I was thinking of demoing that, but I probably won't because it has a lot. It relies on hidden victory conditions for one side, and that would be difficult to do. And also, I have done the Creature That Ate Sheboygan, which it's based on, so I'm not sure that I'm going to actually end up demoing that. And then this is a continuation of the SPI games that they are recommending in the various genres, as well as some role-playing games and accessories here. There's Universe here, and Time Tripper, which I just did a meditative unboxing of. Sword in the Stars, which I have owned in the past, but unfortunately got rid of before I ever did a video about it. And then the back of the magazine, which is advertising strategies and tactics, Aries magazine, and Moves magazine. They call Moves a must-have magazine for the gamer who wishes to get the most play value from his games. And if you've ever read any issues of Moves or seen any of the articles, you will completely agree with me that that is absolutely true. That's a fabulous, fabulous resource that I wish there was some type of publication like that today. Of course, we have the internet and many such resources, but if you ever track down an issue of Moves magazine, it's got fascinating articles, game-related articles, even about games that you don't have, just the mechanics of gameplay, very well described there. And of course, Aries, there's Return of the Stainless Steel Rat. Cover edition, I've also treated that game on my channel, and again, S&T up there. So this is a brief look inside the pamphlet, I guess you would call it. They call it a special publication, Adventure Gaming, where the science fiction, military history, and fantasy role-playing aspects of the hobby are all presented as one together to introduce new gamers to what this hobby has to offer.